happened there? Technical issues. I don't know what was going on there, like, you know what I mean? And it's always funny. It always happens when I'm running it. Like, I don't know if that's coincidence or what. Like, I'll have to blame technical staff behind. Sam, you're useless. All right, get it sorted. There you go. Like, all done. How we doing, lads? Morning, everybody. Dan's not here today. Dan's having to do something else. So, as you can see, it's a bit of mayhem when I do it. But listen, we're on. We've got it going, and we've got lots to talk about. I thought a good weekend, if I'll be honest, of sport. We're going to talk about Fulham and Spurs. That's going to be our first topic. Then we're going to go on to Arsenal and Chelsea. Arsenal are poor, but my God, Chelsea are even worse. Like, you know, I've got to say that. So I couldn't believe how bad they were yesterday. We'll get on to that. Can't not talk about the cup final yesterday in Liverpool versus Newcastle. Newcastle winning. And as Henry has pointed out, and he wants to bring this conversation to the table, is Eddie Howe better than Mikel Arteta? Well, I'll tell you who Eddie Howe is better, Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, 100%.
Over to you, Henry. What about yesterday? I'm going to say Fulham a decent side, so it wasn't a surprise that Spurs lost it. But it's the way Spurs are losing games, Henry. I've got to say, you know, could have gone pear-shaped in midweek. Frankfurt now in the next round, all on that. But if you don't start in a bit of form, and I think you got that team from the other side of West London when you come back from international break, it's going to be now or never for Ange. I've got to say, I watched the game yesterday. I watched the highlights of it. I don't really know. You've got all your players back. Spurs got decent players in the team and all that. Keeps chopping. One of my Spurs mates, by the way, turned around and said yesterday, why does he keep changing the side? Madison was left out yesterday. He's got a 2-week break and things like that. Yep. They're just not having it with him at the moment. So thoughts on the game, thoughts on Ange, and what generally what the Spurs fans are thinking.
I'm happy to go out on a limb and say that in my lifetime, he's the worst Tottenham manager I've ever seen. In my 28 years, he's the worst I've ever seen in my life. His win rate is 29% this season. That is, it doesn't matter how you dress it up, whatever excuse you want to use. We've got all our players back fit. He doesn't play Van der Ven against Fulham when he hasn't been called up for the Netherlands. So what's the excuse not to play him? It's convenient that Romero gets fit just before the international break so he can play for Argentina. He leaves Madison on the bench, who's our most creative player, puts Archie Gray in midfield alongside Basuma and Bentancur, which don't have any creativity. And the games we've lost this season, Lee, we've taken 1 point off Fulham, home and away. Right? We've taken 1 point off Wolves so far. We've lost 15 games in 29. That is absolutely shambolic. This might be. I mean, when we had Harry Redknapp, we finished 8th. This might be the worst season I've seen us in that I remember in the Premier League. I was very, very young in the 90s, so I don't really remember when we were absolutely catastrophically bad. But we're only above 16th on goal difference. And we've still got Liverpool to play. We've still got Chelsea to play. We've still got West Ham away to play. We've still got Wolves away to play. I'll be honest with you, Lee. I think we'll finish either 15th or 16th this season. And like you said at the start, it's make or break for the Europa League. Well, let me just spoil that for you. It's break because we're not going to win that competition. You know, we were outplayed against AZ Alkmaar in the first leg. We go back into the return leg, and it's, you know, we turn up and we had a decent performance, but Frankfurt are a different kettle of fish. Frank, just touch on the Europa League quickly, and I'll go back to the Fulham game.
Yeah, go on.
The Frankfurt game, the second leg's away, which doesn't give me huge confidence that Tottenham can go and protect a lead. I wouldn't trust Ange Postecoglou walking my fucking dog, let alone holding on to a lead. It's the tactics in the game, they're horrendous, mate. 18 hamstring injuries this season. That's not coincidental. That's part of a system. That's part of too much intensity. Players that have completely fallen off. Destiny Udogie hasn't had a good game in months. Pedro Porro looks a shadow of himself. The only player that I could say has improved this season is Jed Spence and Dejan Kulusevski. You know, Dominic Solanke, 0 goals in 7 games is worrying. That's worrying for a number 9. The amount of chances we create. Brennan Johnson, other than back post tappings, doesn't do a lot. And we didn't have a shot on target in the first half, again against Fulham. And I think that's the 8th time this happened this season when we haven't had a shot on target in the first half. And then, you know, Arsenal's B team, Willian, Iwobi, Smith Rowe, right? Marco Silva makes 2 substitutions yesterday. He brings on Muniz and he brings on our ex-player, Ryan Sessegnon, who couldn't get a game against us, scores. You know, out-coached again tactically. Like I said, I don't know why Van der Ven's not getting a game. He's not been called up internationally. I don't understand why James Maddison's not playing. We haven't got a game for 18 days. What is the need to rest these players? Half of our team don't play internationally. Our goalkeeper's not the number 1 for Italy. Our fullbacks don't play internationally. Destiny Udogie might, but Porro's not playing right back. Argentina, Romero will play. Van der Ven and Maddison haven't been called up. Dominic Solanke won't play. Who else have we got? Brennan Johnson, by the way, is one of the worst wingers I've ever seen in a Spurs shirt. He can't beat his man. He can't win a duel. He can't use his pace effectively. And what's the excuse going to be now? Because we've got a fully fit squad. He's got all of his tools available, and we've lost them. I mean, let's be honest. We should have been battered by Bournemouth. If it wasn't for a Kepa howler, and it wasn't for a bit of magic from Son, we would have lost that game. And the only reason there's not the entire fan base on his neck is because we're still in the Europa League. But next month, if we get knocked out by Frankfurt and we're sitting 15th or 16th without Europe next season and without being in a major without winning a major trophy, look at Newcastle. We couldn't put in that performance in the final. No chance. We haven't got the mentality, the players, and the manager. And Eddie Howe, by the way, has spent something like 290 million on that Newcastle team. But look at the players he's improved. Look how good Joelinton was yesterday. Look at Bruno Gomes. Alexander Isak wasn't a superstar when they signed him. Look what he's turned him into. Look at Dan Burn. Gets an England call up. We haven't got any player that is capable of putting in that performance when the pressure's on. They beat Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, Liverpool and Arsenal to get to the final. When have we ever done anything like that? We haven't got the Connors, mate. We got a line for the bloody merchandise longer than my fucking future, right? You go down, you pay £8-9 for a bloody pint. The club don't care about anything other than bringing in revenue. We've just announced all these concerts, mate. It's a disgrace, and they're already talking about planning for the summer ahead. If we're planning for this manager, I'm not kidding you. We will be 15th, 16th next season as well because he can't manage games. Tactically, his substitutions are diabolical. Absolutely diabolical. You know, who takes off Romero for James Maddison? What is that change? Like, what are we doing here? I don't know what you guys think, but the excuses have run out. You can't blame injuries now because he's got a full fit team. I understand Fulham are a good side, but fucking hell.
The other thing that's worrying Henry is he's arguing with the fans now after and things like that. That's not a good look. That isn't a good look.
And you've got players deleting their social media accounts. It's called accountability. I'm not saying you got to start bricking and petrol bombing their house. But if you're a professional footballer in the public eye and you can't take a bit of criticism, then something's not right there. Salah is getting absolutely grilled the last 2 games by Liverpool fans. He's not out there putting posts on social media. He's not out there deleting his Instagram, is he?
No, and the other thing is, which is a bit of a worrying thing from a Spurs fan, not for us Arsenal fans. We're enjoying it, by the way. Like, you know,
This guy.
if
are you enjoying it?
If Chelsea were to beat them next game, they will actually go into maybe going into that game against Frankfurt, Everton and West Ham above them, and they could actually be in 16th place. That's fifth from bottom. Fifth from bottom. Spurs fifth from bottom. No, I don't care what anybody says. That is not acceptable at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. I don't care if you're in the Europa League or not. There's patience and there's patience, boys, isn't there? Like, if they were to get beaten, say if I'll ask this question now: if Frankfurt go to the Tottenham Stadium and win 2-0, would he survive the second leg?
No, he shouldn't be. He should be surviving the first leg. He should be sacked today.
And do you know
Now's the
what?
perfect time. He's in international break. Go and give someone the job. Do you know what? I'm not even taking the piss. Go and just approach Harry Redknapp and say, get the band back together. Bring on Cranchar as your first assistant and rally the fucking troops.
Cranchar, Mendes and that, yeah? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, honestly, get Leggy King and Cranchar as your first assistant and bring in Harry Redknapp.
Henry, I saw the phone a charity game the other day. You still got it, trust me.
Yeah, of course he has.
The phone Crouchy, yeah.
Screaming at
Crouchy.
fans. It's pathetic, mate.
Do you know what is well, Henry? Yeah? This isn't alien to Levy because he sacked one of the greatest managers before a final. So what's the shame in sacking Ange before a quarterfinal? He's done it before. He can do it.
We had Conte. Conte got his Champions League, right? Conte beat Arteta's Arsenal to get Champions League. And the following season, instead of going out and the club apparently bid 70 million for Bastoni, we brought in Longley. Right, under Poch, instead of going and getting Mane, we got Nkoudou. That's a recruitment level, but we hounded Conte and Jose out of the club. Jose got us to a final. This could be our lowest finish in Premier League history, and there's still fans protecting him. For what?
There can't be fans protecting him.
Mate, honestly, I've had close to probably 100 DMs on TikTok calling me negative and all this other crap just because I want better for the football club.
That's crazy.
The difference between this cup final or cup and that cup final in the League Cup didn't get you Champions League football. This one does. And I think that perhaps the board are thinking it'd be suicide madness if we don't, because it could still get a Champions League football. And I think that is so important to Spurs.
Lee, do you think we're going to win the Europa League?
Listen, you know, no, I don't. If you're looking for, but you never know in football. That's the thing. Like cup football, you never know. You know.
Does this team, Lee? Does this team potentially play Bilbao in their own stadium and win the trophy? No, you know when Man United say that night in Barcelona or Liverpool say that night in Istanbul, are we going to be saying that night in Bilbao? Well, I'll tell you what, we're fucking not going to be saying that.
You had that night in Ajax.
They're a very good team, by the way. They're
Bilbao are going to skin it. If we play them in their own ground, they will skin us alive. You know, it's absolutely pathetic. I mean, you got fans on Twitter today saying, you know, just give Ange to the end of the season. For what? Why are we giving this guy more time?
To get to that final, though, Henry, you've got to go past Frankfurt and Lazio. That ain't, you know, if you would have said that at the beginning of the season, you'd have took that quarter final and semi final. They ain't like the big boys of Europe, are they? Like, you know, I know that they're decent, but I still think Spurs have got an opportunity to at least get to the final. I'm not saying that they're going to go out in this moment in time. Same with Man United.
But Frankfurt won the Europa League though only 3 years ago. They've got a bit of pedigree, and that number 9.
I'll give you they've got pedigree, but like at the end of the day, on a one-off situation or a cup competition, I don't think you can write off Spurs at this moment in time. I'd love to say yes, and I think that if you don't win the first game at Tottenham, then I think like there's going to be all sorts of pressure, like you know. So, but I you know, if I'm the board, I think that's why they're holding fire on it, because it's Champions. I'll tell you what, if this was the FA Cup, right, and he was out of Europe, I think he would have gone. I just think it's because of that Champions League carrot that they're sticking with him. Like, you know, that's my opinion. Well, let's end Henry's agony. I'd love to go on and talk about the demise.
Yeah, we know judges. We know. Look at you. Look at this.
For a long, long while. But there's another team that I don't like, and they're from West London, and it's not Fulham. And I have to say, it's always nice to turn them over. In what I would have to say was a poor game yesterday. Look, Arsenal are struggling at the moment. I'm going to say it is a chore to watch Arsenal at the moment, and I actually see people bringing prescriptions from their doctors like that are suffering from sleep. Get yourself down the Emirates. You'll be asleep in 10 minutes, and you'll be dreaming about whatever. You know, it's so poor. But I actually watched a team yesterday that was one of the worst teams I've seen at the Emirates this season, and I can't believe what I see in Chelsea Football Club yesterday. They've got two midfield players that are over £100 million each, and all they do is going around kicking people. Fofana at right back, you know what I mean? I don't know how he never got sent off in the game. It was a joke. And this Chelsea seem to be getting away with it. Now, when everybody says to me, Dan, Chelsea are a big club, they're this massive club. But if you was a massive club, like Man United are taking a lot of stick this season, like Manchester City, maybe even Newcastle fans have, like criticising Eddie Howe because he's not getting them consistent in the league. It just seems like everybody just sort of says, Chelsea. And I'm going to say this now, Dan, two of my Chelsea mates, so I call them acquaintances now, turned around and said, well, we're not the same, when we ain't got Cole Palmer. We haven't had Saka for months, and it's a disgrace that we haven't challenged for the league. You have Cole Palmer missing for one game, and it's what is wrong with Chelsea? I'll tell you, I think they're so poor yesterday, and I don't mean that in being nasty and all that. I was just surprised how poor they were, Dan.
I don't think it's anything new, Lee. I think off the back of the Christmas period, Chelsea have been at that level. I think we've been really poor. Jackson hasn't scored before he got injured for like 10 games. Madueke has 2 in his last 12 before injury. Cole Palmer, I think 10 games without a goal or assist. So it's not like it's one game without him that we've struggled. We've been in bad form for a while now. Our last 4 fixtures where we've got results have been against the Copenhagen side that arguably dominated us in both legs, and we somehow come out with the win. We've beaten Leicester and Southampton, arguably 2 of the worst Premier League teams we've seen in the last decade. So I don't think we've done anything of note to suggest that we had any chance going to Arsenal. And I think, actually, I agree with you. The leg, or the game, sorry, was boring for both teams, and the goal came from a set piece. I think we knew Arsenal would have issues going forward, because you do at the moment. It's there for everyone to see in the Premier League. Your biggest goal threats aren't in the side. And Chelsea didn't do anything about it, didn't set up like they looked like they wanted to win. Maresca's mentality is woeful. The last result we had, bar Spurs away from home against a big team that was a win, was when Lukaku scored against you guys at the Emirates. Yeah, so we're in terms of results against the big 6 away from home, it's diabolical. I don't know. I think Enzo Maresca, I think he exceeded expectations at the beginning of the season in a similar fashion to what Ange did at Spurs. This is exactly what I probably expected, hiring a championship manager with the mentality that he's got and everything Leicester fans sort of reported on last season from what they experienced. And to be honest with you, I don't see results changing for Chelsea against better teams or bigger sides until he's at the door and the club sort of have a change of heart in the philosophy of the players they've been recruiting as well.
Yeah, I've got to say, I didn't even know Jordan Sancho was playing until I got there late yesterday, because I was playing football, so just as kickoff day, so I didn't know the teams or nothing, and I couldn't get reception around the ground, as you don't around most grounds these days. So I didn't know the teams. Didn't even. Do you know what? It took me 20 minutes before someone said that Palmer weren't playing. You know what I mean? So I don't. I thought, oh yeah, I didn't realise that. But I didn't realise Sancho was playing, so we come off it. What he's got, he was decent. Neto, I thought was a decent player at that. All he done was fall over all the time. And I look at that team, Dan. I'm going to be really honest with you, and I don't mean, and I slagged off Chelsea yesterday because of it. I looked at that team with all the money they spent. Look, don't get me wrong about Arsenal. People go, "Oh, why aren't you criticising Arsenal?" Listen, I think Arsenal we're making excuses as well. I don't think Arsenal should be playing that poorly with only 1 or 2 players missing. The only players that Arsenal have got missing at this moment in time is Havertz and Saka. And to be putting in performances like that is poor. Don't get me wrong. And so, like, you know, when we talk about Arsenal, I'm up there for the criticism. That was terrible yesterday as well. But when I look at Chelsea, all that money spent, I don't see a decent defender in the team, which you think, like, I'll have him. You've got Reece James that was running around in midfield. I don't know what that was about. See, and I look at the midfield and I think, well, they've got plenty of good players in there, but they don't play to their strengths. And a manager that I think if Arsenal were there for the taking, you've got to be looking at Champions League football, which is now becoming a real, you know, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but like if I'm a betting man, you know, Chelsea, Man City, Newcastle, Brighton are all in that. I wouldn't really know which ones to go for there. I think Villa have dropped off a little bit now, if I'll be honest. But you know, I know that there's 2 from there. I think Forest are probably going to get it now. So Chelsea, Man City, Newcastle, one of them's going to drop out. Newcastle now, you would think would go on after what happened.
They got good fixtures as well, Newcastle.
Yeah, so
the next
I'll say for now, I think Newcastle get top 5. What yesterday done for them?
Yeah, I think.
You reckon they kick on?
Yeah, 100%.
How many teams have we seen kick on off the back of like a League Cup victory as well?
Exactly.
First,
my money wouldn't be on Chelsea, by the way. I would say Chelsea and Brighton would be the teams to miss out on that top 5. I think. I think Newcastle and City would definitely get in above Chelsea and Brighton right now. I feel like the City have the quality ultimately, I think, to do it, even though they've been very questionable at times this season. I think Chelsea's running is incredibly difficult, and more games will be like yesterday, to be honest. I mean, the biggest problem at Chelsea as well is there's a huge issue of misprofiling players. It was quite funny. Reece James was playing. Lavia was on the bench looking at Reece James playing in his position. Reece James was looking at Fofana playing in his position. Fofana was looking at Badiashile playing in his position. And Badashile's getting a start against Arsenal. You can't write it. And Sanchez is in goal. Like I don't understand that a manager's made 5 mistakes before a ball's even been kicked with his.
I think he's getting a free pass, Dan. I'm going to say it now. I think
of course he is, but I don't, Lee. I don't think the pressure's there anymore from above at Chelsea. I think there used to be an extreme weight on these managers to get results. I feel like losing against teams that Chelsea believe are better than them at the moment is almost becoming acceptable from the hierarchy. Not necessarily the fans, but I do believe the hierarchy don't view it as an issue like it once was. Otherwise, something would be done about it, and it would be drastic, because if there's anything that was history at Chelsea, and there was evidence to suggest, it was that they were drastic in their actions to get results. It's not happening now.
Do you know what, Dan? I thought this person in the chat was joking. You've not won away from home in the league since Spurs, and that was right at the start.
Oh yeah, no. Our last 4 home wins, Roms, are like West Ham, Leicester, Southampton, and Copenhagen, I think, and maybe Brentford. Like
the run since January has been poor. Are we saying that Villa and Bournemouth are out race? Are you looking at them and thinking, you know, you could even drop out of Europe, Dan, or are you thinking like, because I look at Bournemouth, I actually was very impressed with them against Spurs last week, but are they out of it now? They're 4 points off, 5 points off of it. 4 points.
You know, if you said a team was 5 points off a top 4, you wouldn't say they're out of the top 4.
No, I don't think they're out of it.
I don't think they are, especially with the way this season's gone. I think Chelsea are benefiting off of the lack of quality in this Premier League season for the fact that I'm looking at the Premier League table now, we're sat in 4th. If the Premier League,
like 4 wins out of the last 13 or something, or something like that, that's crazy.
That's why with this race, top 4 race, you can be inconsistent. You just have to be the most consistent out of the inconsistent.
Yeah.
That's why
there's a difference in there.
That's why Chelsea have a chance. I think Villa are going to put all their eggs into Champions League, and I think they get knocked out to PSG. By the time they get knocked out to PSG, I think the deficit will be too much. Bournemouth, I've said all along, Areola, top manager, they've got very good players, but they have the freak result in them, and I was proved right at the weekend. Like really and truly shouldn't be losing at home.
Yeah,
Brentford are a
it's a
great
big,
side.
big loss that.
Yeah, big loss. You shouldn't
Also,
be
don't
losing
forget
at-
Rams as well. They're in the FA Cup as well, so they might have one eye on that.
Yeah, so
That's,
they're proud.
by the way,
yeah, I
talking
forgot
about all those extra fixtures, that's Chelsea's biggest issue as well. If Chelsea do make it all the way to the Conference League final, that's 5 extra fixtures added into the fixture list for Chelsea. So, in a very, very difficult fixture list to navigate. I think they'll find it incredibly difficult with the rotation issues that we've got now off the back of letting all those players go in January.
If you don't win that Conference League.
Honestly, yeah, but there's almost... Do you know what,
really...
right? As much as I think it would be embarrassing if Chelsea don't win it, if Chelsea went and secured Champions League football instead of winning the Conference League, I'd probably take that because I really don't care about the Conference League. I don't care if Chelsea win that or not. I think it's a competition that Chelsea shouldn't be in. Financially, it's worth absolutely nothing. I think it's worth about 12 million plus 30 million for getting
You
Europa
could be
League
the only
football.
team in Europe though to win all 3.
You ain't got a trophy in
You're
Europe,
gonna
so I
win
don't
the
really
lot.
care. But the issue is that financially for Chelsea, it would be smarter to go and qualify for Champions League football because of the revenue that they could get and the weight of having Champions League football for attracting players than winning the Conference League. So if Chelsea sacrificed not winning that competition almost in the same manner that Villa did last season to guarantee that they won or they got Champions League qualification, I'd rather that, to be honest. I really don't, because I don't think Maresca should be there next season, but I honestly don't know.
No, I'm going to say that. But before we go into Liverpool, let's just talk a little bit about Man United. Well, you know, that was a give me yesterday, wasn't it? Like, you know what I mean? Like the 3 teams now, I think they're, you know, are all down, and they Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich. Man United 3-0 win.
Yeah, comfortable.
Convincing, really, I've got to say,
Yeah.
I thought very convincing. And I'm going to say this now. Fernandes, he done an interview yesterday.
Mhm.
Whether you like him or you don't, I thought he, you know, you talk about staying up and be careful. I thought he was fantastic in that interview yesterday.
Yeah, he
you
was.
know, took it on the chin about the criticism and come out fighting in a really respectable way. So, like, things are looking for Man United. Europa League, they could still win a trophy this season, Man United, and
Look at Rose's
And get Champions League football.
I said it weeks ago. I got a 6. That's why when you're saying Spurs, I'm like, no disrespect. Henry knows this. Forget Spurs. I've got a sick feeling United to it. And if they win a trophy and get Champions League football with this lot, and Flores, you're laughing because you know it's a possibility.
It is.
You know,
It's
incredible.
It's the funniest speech in the world.
Say what you want about them. Say anything what you want about them. They win trophies. They've got heritage in Europe. And I know you said, Henry, Bilbao, if they get to the final, it's in their own backyard. We've seen mad things before. We saw a Chelsea team that weren't as good as Bayern Munich.
Man United have to play them in the semis.
Say that again.
They have to play Bilbao in the semi-final.
Oh, Bill.
If they get past Rangers, yeah, it's if they get past
So it
Rangers.
might be all right, Robs, because they might get Spurs in the final.
I just
want to say, if Spurs and United make it to the Europa League final, scrap the competition. If they're the 2 sides that make it, scrap the comp. There's no way 2 bottom half Premier League sides should make a Europa League final. One, I hear it. Both, no.
George, do you know what I'll say? I think I was saying it to Monts. With United, right? We all know your players aren't that good. I think Amram is now starting to find his feet. I think he come out and said last week, I'm now even myself starting to understand the players. I read him say something along those lines. But I think over a 2-legged affair, I just think you'd always do enough at Old Trafford. It might not be aesthetically pleasing, but you just have this sort of know-how. And I think you do in Europa League. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, but this team are better, this team are better. The best team doesn't always win a cup competition. It's knockout football at the end of the day. And I can see United, it'll be devastating if they do, obviously, for the rest of us. But I can see you lot doing it. I can just see it happening. And I actually think you're starting to play. I watched that Leicester game on the way back to the final. And it's not even just the Leicester game, it's the game before last. I think you would even say.
Yeah, they played really in that.
Yeah, performances are starting to improve now. So, yeah, United are in better stead than they were, let's say, a month or 2 ago. Because it's performances and results. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've played 2 poor sides in the last 2 games in Leicester and Sociedad. But what we've done is made poor sides look poor. Because all season long we've not done that. So that's why I give credit to the manager you mentioned as well, adapting. Give credit to the players as well, because I can't remember the last time this season we've not only got two good victories, 2 important victories in particular, the Sociedad one, because that was season defining, but also 2 good performances to back that up. And that is credit to the manager. That is credit to the players as well. And now it's just about, after the international break, kicking on. Premier League's done. Like, that just use that to, you can't turn form on and off. So therefore, you have to continue to try and get results in the Premier League to continue to build confidence and build some form of winning run going into the Europa League, because it's not going to be easy against Lyon. I don't take anything for granted. 1 game at a time for me. Yeah, go on, judges.
No, I just want to say that's a great point what you're saying about that. You got the Europa League, but I think in and around those Europa League games, you've got the Manchester derby, if I'm correct.
Yeah, we got tough games coming up. We play Forest away, we play City at home, and then we play Newcastle at home.
Yeah. Then you got
Forest, City, Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle in that as well. But do you take that? What's your feeling about that Manchester derby? Like, what do you go for that? A chance to maybe knock Manchester City out of the Champions League spots, or is it really just we've of course to do the double over them as well?
Yeah.
Or is it we're not really that worried about that. We want to concentrate on the Europa League.
No, you definitely go for it because it's a Manchester derby, and we despise them, they despise us. So that's always going to be a game that's going to matter. The result, even if the result don't matter overall, even if they were not chasing anything and we're not chasing anything, it's still a Manchester derby. And what Amorim's managed to do in his reign, for all the criticisms he's received, big games he's got it right. A lot of the time, he's picked up results. He's picked up a result against Liverpool, knocking Arsenal out, etc. Even the Sociedad game, people will look and go, "Oh, Sociedad are poor." That wasn't the conversation before when we drew them. The conversation was, we don't play well against Spanish sides in Europe. We're awful. They're going to destroy us. They're going to and we won the game comfortably. The tie should have been over from the first leg, to be honest. They were poor over both legs, but we contributed to that. So yeah, with the Manchester derby, that's always going to be a big game. It's going to go there and win. The added incentive is all the pressure's on them, because we're not doing anything of note in the Premier League. We're not chasing down European places. We're not getting relegated. We're just literally mid-table. We're literally in the middle ground in the Premier League. It's all about Europa League for us. That is to see them 2 Lyon games. But of course, you don't want to go into the tie losing. Because form, like I said, is not something you can turn on and off. Confidence is not something you can turn on and off. So the fact we've won these 2 games against Leicester and we played well, and also Sociedad, after the international break, you want that to continue. Go to Forest and put in a performance, try and get a result. Same with the Manchester derby. And then you go into the Lyon game. It's like, okay, because that's going to be tough. But you're literally potentially 3 matches away from winning a trophy.
Yeah. So what you're saying is you can't switch it on and turn it off and on.
Yeah, don't switch off. Yeah, it's not off and on switch. Yeah, that's how I look at it.
Maybe like, that's where the difference is between United and Spurs, where we're winning trophies, because Man United now looking like they're turning up, Tottenham turning up when they want. Sorry, Henry, I don't have a dig at Spurs, but it just seems that
I've been saying it for years.
Man United are seeming to have that attitude,
Yeah, 100%.
Let's be honest, in a one-off game in a final, who wins, Tottenham or Man United? We're all choosing Man United.
Yeah, I would say that like that. Talking about finals, have the wheels come off at Liverpool? Are they now in danger of free fall?
Right, lads, it was nice speaking to you. I'm joking.
It was a poor performance from Liverpool yesterday, I have to say. I felt that Newcastle, I'm going to be really honest with you, how I see that cup final was, I see that one team wanted it more than another. I really do. I think Newcastle showed that they really, really wanted it. And Liverpool just didn't seem to turn up, and it was a poor performance from Liverpool. I don't think you can get away from that. Disappointed, I know you got the league in the bag. But this is what I'm really annoying from an Arsenal fan. If we'd have put a little bit of pressure on a couple of games before, won a couple of games, beat West Ham, got another result here and there, I think at the end of the day, on the back of what I see yesterday, you never know, but it just seems now, and I think it was Jamie Carragher that said that that the legs seemed a little bit tired after what happened with PSG. By the way, 2 really grueling games as well on the back of that. Maybe had something to do with it. But I think Liverpool would be very, very pleased with that 12-point gap. It wasn't a great performance from Liverpool yesterday. Talk to me about this,
Lee. I've said for a while now, this team, and it sounds absurd, but this team that are winning the league, it's not like the teams we saw under Klopp or whatnot when we won Champions League in the league. It's not that great. It's just that we've capitalized on everyone else being bad, which is still a good thing for us. But I've said if Arsenal were within 5-6 points, it would be more interesting. I'll still back us to win it, but I have to give Newcastle credit. Exactly what you said, Lee. They wanted it more. They were better from the off. I was fortunate enough to go to the game, and I said to my boy next to me, I'm normally optimistic during the game. And even if we go 2-0 down, like, we can get back into this. They were first to everything. Even coming out of the second half, we started well, maybe the first 5-10 minutes, and then mistakes started happening. We were gifting the ball to them. I feel like it was complacency as well. I know we had 2 legs against PSG and that, but I'm not buying into the fatigue thing because you find a way in finals. Players are supposed to rise. I just think they wanted it more than us. They were first to everything. And we were just complacent. I feel like we turned up thinking we would already win it because we've been to Wembley a lot in recent years and won. And here's another thing, right? We call Wembley Anfield South. And I've been fortunate enough to be at the past finals. Even atmosphere-wise, you probably saw on TV, their scarves and everything, how they looked. They outsang us. We didn't create an atmosphere. That wasn't Anfield South. That was St. James South yesterday. That I think it's one of them games where I think the game was slightly lost even before it started. And even our fans, no one was really up for it. I know how a fan at Wembley should feel. And I think every player in their team was minimum 8 out of 10. Where you look at ours, some would be lucky to even get a 6. I think the front 3 were poor. The midfield was poor. Gravenberch has been one of our better players this season. The wheels have kind of fallen off for him the past 3-4 games. You could say the last month. Szoboszlai was doing what Szoboszlai does. Now, cool. I know he's been in good form. But again, his decision-making isn't always there. And it was evident yesterday he was gifting them the ball for fun. McAllister, again, you can see he looked fatigued. But even the basics, he's one of our best ball retainers. And he wasn't retaining the ball at all yesterday. I know it might look on TV. There's a clip going around with Van Dijk where Tonali bounces him off and he kind of rolls over. But I still think he had a decent game. That's one player. I think him, Elliott, Jones when he came on, and Chiesa, they're 4 players I think that can kind of leave with their head held high because Van Dijk's box defending was still top tier because if he's not there for a lot of their crosses, that game could have been 3-4, 5-0. I know people are only going to remember moments, but I think overall Van Dijk was good. I think Elliott and Jones gave us a new lease of life. Jones came on straight away, was under pressure. He kind of pirouetted through 3 players and played a nice through ball. Elliott's through ball to Chiesa, I think, was the first penetrative pass we saw.
Roms, why do you think Elliott's not starting?
I just don't think Slot rates him as high as the fan base do. It's as simple as that because there's been so many games. Look, Dan would know. In fact, Henry and Dan, you would know this. One of the best examples of a manager that does this right. Antonio Conte only used about 14 players. He normally had his starting 11 and maybe 2 or 3 players. Arne Slot's kind of doing this now where he kind of sticks with his 11 and he only trusts about 2 or 3 players on the bench. And I think it's come back to bite us now because you're seeing players are getting a bit fatigued. He needs to start using the squad because Federico Chiesa is a player, I've said, say what you want about him, injury prone. He's got experience at the highest level, scored at Wembley before, won trophies for Juve. He needs to start playing. I think Elliott has, every time he's come on, he's proved, right, hold on, why am I getting a look in? Even after some of our FA Cup games and Carabao Cup games, he wasn't even starting them. And that showed to me, Arne Slot just doesn't rate him. He genuinely just doesn't rate him. For me, I would have started Jones as well. I know Szoboszlai has the legs, but Szoboszlai has showed in recent games that, yeah, his industry will always be there, but he's not retaining the ball. The turnovers normally come from him when we give the ball to the other team. But yesterday was a shocking performance. I would go as far to say that's probably one of our worst performances in finals in a long time, in a very, very long time. And now you're getting narratives put out like, oh, we're going to bottle the league. That's a narrative I'm not subscribing to. Like you said, Lee, I think the deficit's too much.
Yeah,
but it is worrying. But that's the thing with football. Football fans can be fickle. We've gone out 2 competitions in the space of 5 weeks and it's doom and gloom. If you said to me at the start of the season, Arnstott's just going to win the Premier League in his first year. I would have bit your hand off for that. But what happens is expectations change. When you start thinking you can win more trophies, then you lose them. It's like, the season doom and gloom. I'm telling you now, the next 2 weeks will sting because we've got an international break. We're going to get golden and everything. But once we lift that title at the end of the season, I think all will be forgotten about. Yeah, we won one trophy, but it's one out of the big two. But I'm not excusing the performance yesterday. Newcastle were better than us in every department. That boy Isaac just does what he's doing again. And I think our big players didn't rise. I need to actually mention Mo Salah because my fan base hate me for this, right? In the Premier League, class. He always comes up clutch for us. But these are facts I'm dealing with now. If you look at him in cup finals for us, he doesn't rise. And I know our families don't like to hear this, but he does not rise. There's one final he performed well and we lost, and people won't remember. But I think when Madrid beat us in our last final, he actually played well without goals and assists. All the other ones, bar Spurs, after the penalty, he doesn't always rise. And some fans will be like, yeah, he's playing with other attackers aren't as good as him. Hold on, if we hold him in that high regard and we're saying things that, not me personally, but Ballon d'Or and stuff, you need to then play to that level. And it's been final after final, and I feel like he gets away scot-free. Van Dijk's shown up clutch in finals last year, but he hasn't. In the league, he's quality. I've got no qualms with him in the Premier League. But finals, the proof's in the pudding. The facts are there. He doesn't always show up. I'm looking to players like him, McAllister, Van Dijk, because you look at your senior players and your veterans to get you out of situations like this. And shock horror, it was Chiesa out of the bench, who has cup winning experience, that kind of, not going to say got us back in the game, but gave us a little bit lease of hope. But it was a poor final from us.
I think that, listen, I'm going to take nothing away from Newcastle. I thought they was outstanding on the day. I managed to watch the second half after getting back from the Arsenal game. But and I listened on the radio and they were saying that there was only one team in it and blah, 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 blah. But Newcastle would have been rubbing their hands at Liverpool going to extra time. I don't think people realise that those Champions League games are not just physically, mentally take it out of you in knockout stages. And then to go out on penalties, you got the come down of that and then to try and lift yourself for a cup for. I think if you was Newcastle, it couldn't have worked out a better week. Not only, do you know what? I think if Liverpool would have won that gives you that little bit of energy, energises you a little bit, but to lose it as well, the energy levels weren't quite there for them. Maybe if we made a few more substitutions, change it about a little bit, who knows? But I think in the end of it, he was just caught in a storm yesterday, a Newcastle storm. They couldn't get out of it. I've got to say, there were some outstanding performances. Everybody was saying about Anthony Gordon coming in there. The boy, Harvey Barnes, coming and done an excellent job. Really, really good. I think that's not been given enough credit for. The three in midfield. By the way, Tonali, what a player he is. I have to say, I am so impressed with him as a midfield player. I think he's the best out of the three of them. And the other two are bloody good, by the way. And they are really good. Their midfield is right up there. Right up.
Can I just say, this brings me on to my point. Some might say it's crazy, and I've said it for the past 6 or so months. I think that is the best three in the league in terms of balance, technique, goal scoring. I think it has everything. You've got your two technicians in Tonali and Bruno, but Bruno can also do the dirty work. And you've got Joe Linton, which a lot of people don't like this type of player. I like this type of player that's just a battering ram, makes it uncomfortable, doesn't let the
celebrating tackles yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah, but that's what you need.
Tackles win you games. They intimidate the opposition.
And he was revving up the crowd. I think the balance, seeing it yesterday, how everything's so smooth with them and the understanding. One goes to press, the other one goes to cover. We couldn't get a minute's rest. And I know you're speaking about PSG, Lee, but I don't think. How about this? I think even if we had knocked out PSG, I still feel like the complacency would have kicked in and they still win this game on the weekend. I just think they wanted it more. We've gone into it thinking we've won it twice in the last 3 or 4 years. I just think we had already won the game. You can't have
complacency.
Yeah,
complacency.
Say that again.
I said you should have played the kids.
Well, there was none on the bench this time. We actually had our full-fledged.
Why last season did they play? Was it because of the rotation or was it just injuries?
Look, you seen a starting 11 that were injured last season? There was a lot of
Yeah,
us
right. It was
injured.
injuries, wasn't it? Yeah.
They had to play, but yeah, Newcastle, I can't. They just deserved it. They battered us in every department, honestly. And you have to give Eddie Howe. Sometimes in football, the fairy tale is there. The Geordie scoring the opening goal, one of their own. Like certain things are just meant to be in it. It wasn't our day yesterday, and they deserved it. Great support, and we just have to now come back after the international game and wrap this league up. Because now what you get is a nervousness within our fan base. Not me. I'm saying that now. Not me. I still know we win this league, but we just need to wrap out early. Because if we lose against Everton, which Merseyside derby, I don't think we do. If we were to lose that and lose the one after, people start saying, "Oh, Liverpool can." We can't have that. We just need to win as early as possible and then have a nice summer, man. Because to just win the league in a season, I'll take that every day of the week. Every day of the week.
Listen, I think that Liverpool could actually lose to Everton, but I still think Arsenal will probably lose to Everton when they play them and whatever. I think the league's done and all that. I'm going to be really honest. I want to ask the panel this: do we begrudge Newcastle their moment?
Henry definitely does.
No, I don't. Absolutely not. They beat Liverpool. You know what the smoke what they would have been on if Liverpool would have won this. I love that, man. Shout out to Newcastle. I'm so happy that they won.
Flawless. Did they play you? Or did they play you in this run or not?
Did they play? Nah, they didn't play us.
They played a lot of tough teams. They played Chelsea, Forest, Liverpool, someone else.
Top
that was
four.
difficult.
What manager Eddie Howe is, by the way.
We're going to talk about that now. We're going to talk about that, Henry. That brings us on to Eddie Howe, because there's a lot of people saying he's the best manager now, better than Arteta, better than Poch, better than anyway. What are we saying about? Listen, if Arsenal sacks Mikel tomorrow and we brought in Eddie Howe, I wouldn't be disappointed with that. I know probably a lot of people might be or not. He's got his Newcastle team over. What I liked about Newcastle and Eddie Howe yesterday, and what I was more impressed with him, I'll go on to the tactics side of it in a second, was that I thought they let themselves down a little bit against Man United in the cup final a couple of years ago. The game was too much for them. They learnt their lesson. He learnt from that. Like he made mistakes and he learnt from it and he put it right this time. I like that about a manager. But tactically now, he's done Arsenal in the two legs where we'd still be out there now. I don't think we would have scored. The game against Liverpool, we can make excuses for Liverpool and whatever, they could have actually been 3 or 4-0 down before they scored. The goalkeeper made some good saves. She tactically got it right again in a big game. Not the first time. Someone said in the chat earlier on, give him his credit for and all that, but he hasn't got the consistency in the league. I think it was Harvey that said it, in the league. So there's a little bit of criticism there for him and everything like that. I think also he's had to manage a little bit of expectation from what's going on with everything there. Done a wonderful job at Newcastle. I felt maybe looking at his league position, say if they hadn't won that cup, say they'd have lost that cup, maybe not getting Champions League, could he have been under a little bit of pressure? But fine margins in football, as we know, they lose that, don't get Champions League, maybe they sack him. But now I think it's a different thing. Got massive credit in the bank now. What were we saying about Eddie Howe? I'm impressed by him. I've got to say this, but I don't see him. I get what people are saying about the inconsistencies, but he's got him a trophy.
He's got him over the line.
Is it crazy to say they'll probably build him a statue? And I know some people might just say League Cup, but it's been 70 years that he's going to be good for them now.
They're constructing that right now. That's already under construction. You already know.
Yeah. I thought maybe I was going over the top, but they're definitely going to give him a statue. But Lee, Henry avoided the question that you just asked. Do you begrudge them? I'm not even trying to banter here.
Of course I fucking do. I can't I'm happy to give them praise because they deserved it. But how are we sitting here we earn 9 times the amount of revenue they do? Yeah. We've I know they had the Keegan side in the 90s, and he's coming out there saying I'd love it if we beat them, but they didn't. And since then, Newcastle have been up and down out of the Championship, and they've just gone and won silverware. Eddie Howe, I think, is a top manager. He took Bournemouth from League One or League Two into the Premiership.
League Two on the brink of relegation.
Wasn't it 3 consecutive promotions?
I think so.
Yeah, 3 consecutive promotions. Takes over Newcastle. He spent just under, I think, 300 million And he's brought play. Bearing in mind they had to get rid of one of their academy players who was a very good player, in Elliot Anderson.
Yeah,
He was
Didn't
there
have a great
yesterday.
summer window, right? They brought in Isak for 60 million, and everyone, and like he's turned him into a superstar. He turned Joelinton from a centre forward into a bulldozer of a midfielder. You know, Tonali, they went without him for a year. Now he looks one of the best technicians in the league. They did it without Lewis
They
Hall
switched
and
his
without
position
Gordon.
up as well. They definitely have moved him deeper into the like more holding midfield position as well.
And do you know what's mad? Like I don't have a problem with Arteta. I think he's a good manager. But Eddie Howe's made more finals in the same amount of time.
Really?
Yeah, he made against Man United, and I know people are out there going to say, "Oh, if you give Eddie Howe £700 million, would Newcastle be challenged?" Yeah, it's an argument, but like Arsenal are now, I think, will be consistently challenging for a while under Arteta. And I know that's not an achievement on paper, but mate, what Eddie Howe's like, if he gets them top 4 this season or champion, I mean, I just see a TikTok in the background that apparently if Arsenal were to win the Champions League, 7 teams, if Man United and Arsenal were to both win the European trophies, we could have 7 teams in the Champions League.
That's mad. Do you know what? Eddie Howe winning as well is great for English football because I think he's the first manager in, I'd like to say, since '94 or something. No, since
There's
Harry
only 7
Redknapp.
English managers that have won in the top 5.
Yeah, since Harry Redknapp. I don't know why I said '94 to win a trophy. So I think it's great for English football. And I think even the FA might look at this that if Tuchel doesn't do well, you've now won something at club level. Well, he was getting linked with the job regardless anyway. But
I think it's inevitable that he gets
same. And the way he plays football as well. Let's be honest, we've been crying out for a nicer type of football, even though Southgate got us respected to fan that couldn't get over the line. Imagine how that has the players at his disposal and the way he plays. I think it coincides. So I think he will inevitably get that job. But Henry, what you just said, top 4 and a Carabao Cup, I then think maybe him, Nuno, and Slot are all contenders for Manager of the Year because Nuno, what he's done with Forest is crazy, and I think they get top 4. But Eddie Howe to get their first trophy in 70 years,
I think Eddie Howe
Champions League football, he might even pip Slot. He might even pip Slot.
Scott's done an unbelievable job. I don't think a lot of people thought he'd win the league.
Yeah,
but to win at Newcastle their first trophy, I mean, Lee wasn't even alive when they last won a major honour.
There's no need for that, was there? There was no need.
I mean, yeah, but I think I'll take him at Spurs in a heartbeat. I'll take his assistant over Ange, whatever his name is. The
Jason
guy standing next to him all the time. I mean,
he gets a lot of screen time as well.
A lot of handshakes, a lot of screens.
Done a great job at Forest. They could actually win the FA Cup and get Champions League football. Could Spurs have him? Oh, they have. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's you know, it just seems that everybody that goes to Spurs is a little bit, I don't know, because Nuno, what a job he's done.
If he wins the FA Cup and Eddie Howe wins the League Cup, Daniel Levy's got to have a long, hard look at himself.
He has got to have a long, hard look at himself.
What is going on at this football club?
He's incredible.
Bless.
You know, I just have to dip out. Have a good week.
No worries. We're gonna end it in a second. Thanks for joining us. Like, you know, I know it was tough for you today, like, but thanks.
Annoying. I've got to deal with it again. But big up. Have a good week.
Blessings, Rums. Big up.
See you, Rums.
Elliot Anderson apparently was in the Newcastle end yesterday. That just shows you.
He's in the Newcastle end.
Yeah, like
Eddie Howe. They had to sell him.
Eddie Howe and Dan Burn were like, they pointed him out, they spotted him and like celebrating with him.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? What a great thing, like, you know. So listen, I'm pleased for Newcastle. I'll tell you what, one thing I will say about Newcastle. I will say this about Eddie Howe quickly as well. I don't think he got the credit also for that game on Monday night against West Ham. To go to West Ham 6 days before a cup final, you know what I mean, and put in a performance, that shows you that he's got a little bit about him, because they could have easily gone to that game, lost that game, not, you know, worried about injuries, suspensions and things like that. He you know, I think he's done a wonderful, wonderful job there, like, you know, and do I want him to get, do you know what, people go, oh, you know, if they get top 4, you won't get Isak and all that, like, you know, I don't care about those sort of things. You get who we get. But I think Newcastle have, you know, deserve what they get, and all credit to them. They deserve to beat Arsenal over 2 legs unbelievably. We'd still be up there now and we wouldn't have scored. So all credit.
Done you 3 times this season, haven't they?
All right, Henry. All right.
Yeah, Henry below the belt.
Scored against them. So
it's below the belt. I like it.
Do you think? I know we're like, and I completely appreciate the praise for Eddie Howe because I think he's done a really good job. And I think if you look at overall trajectory at every club he's been at, it's always an upwards curve. But this season, I actually think at times they could have done better than what they've done.
Yeah, that's why I said that.
Table and think 6th for not having European football with the side that they've got. I think they could be guaranteed to be top 4. Like that's where they should be for me. I think Champions League should almost be wrapped up for a side.
I think he was under a little bit of pressure if they didn't win that game.
Absolutely, because it's like you can't get over the line type of thing. That's why you lost 2 finals. Then you're underachieving in the Premier League as well, but winning the final.
He lost 4-1 to Bournemouth not that long ago, and he threw away they threw away another couple of weird games. So they've had weird results. But
yeah. They have, and they've been a little bit some when they were struggling a little while.
That's the thing people need to remember with Eddie Howe is that I feel like it's not an instant impact. He needs to establish his sort of philosophy on the team and the idea of his brand of football on the team. And it's kind of like after a few seasons, we'll work there, we'll get there, we'll build something. He always builds a good, likable squad, I think. Like the players always seem quite likable. Like they're always going to work hard. They're always going to be results first. They're always going to try to win the game of football that they play in. But I feel like it's not an instant. Like if you went and employed him to win trophies, I don't think you're employing him for the right reasons.
Yeah, so I think consistency is a big thing in football. And listen, I think like at this moment in time, if it weren't for cups, like Aston Villa would be under a little bit of a pump. They're still in the FA Cup, still in the Champions League. So there's a little bit of growth. But if they was to go out of them, people will look at that and go, look, well, that team that Aston Villa have got there, they are in 8th or 9th. It's not good. So you've got to keep yourselves in with a trophy. That's where I think Arsenal have gone wrong in the last couple of seasons under Mikel. Like if you'd have nicked a cup here and there, this pressure
alleviates pressure. Winning trophies goes. It gives you a little bit of time.
It ain't gonna get you the pass like it hasn't with Man United when you're doing. But what it will do if you're up there and you're challenging, then that no one will talk about that. As Henry says, there's people now on the internet saying that Eddie Howe's better than Mikel Arteta and all that. That conversation.
You disagree with that, judges?
Yeah, I do disagree with that because Arsenal, have challenged for the title for the last couple of years and whatever. But what I'm saying is it shouldn't even be a conversation. But it is. And I get the reasons why it's a conversation. And that is the problem that Arsenal have had. But we're still in a cup competition ourselves at this moment in time.
Definitely are. Yes.
So
yes, you are.
So at the end of the day, all 4 of us and all 5 of us have been on here today could still have wonderful seasons, even though, I'm going to be really honest. If Arsenal don't win the Champions League this season, which is I don't think that we will, it's going to be a very, very disappointing season for us. I think with Chelsea, if they don't get top 4 and win the Conference League, I still think that'd be a disappointing season for Chelsea. Tottenham, like if they don't win the league, it's a disappointing one. And Man United the same. But at the end of the day, listen, if Man United and all 4 of us could have good seasons at the end of the day. If Arsenal win the Champions League, unbelievable. If Man United can win the Europa League, that's Champions League football for next season. That's the same for Spurs. And Chelsea winning the trophy in Champions League, they will say that's a good platform. So football is fine margins. And, as I said, I honestly think that if Eddie Howe didn't win that yesterday, I think there'd have been a lot of questions asked about him. But he has, and now credit in the bank, he's done fantastically well.
And they've got European football next season. They've got Conference League off the back of that, haven't they, as well? So
yeah. So they're in Europe. They've won a little bit more than that. And we'll see how it goes. Listen, we've come to the end, lads. Thanks for joining us. It's been a brilliant chat, to be honest. A little bit of doom and gloom in the air for most of us, but at the end of the day, I think we've still got lots to play for, and I think that's the the key at this moment in time. I think this time next month, maybe some of us won't, but that's for another day, like, you know. So I think we've all got games to look forward to, haven't we? Like, you know, at the end of it, I think that, you know, even with Chelsea, they're still, you know, there is that carrot for Chelsea, Dan, that they can win all 3 competitions.
Yeah, we got Spurs at home next, so we should.
And Spurs at home is always
That's
nice.
points for you, isn't it?
Dr. Spurs, you know what I mean? Like come to town, that'd be good. Like Man United have got a new stadium to look forward to.
I'd rather we just play better on the pitch. The new stadium's all well and good. We need to sort out what's going on the current pitch.
Well, you know,
you're unbeaten in 6, Flawless. To be fair.
Yeah, we're the
Man
unbeaten in Europe. We're the unbeaten.
Slowly putting on the burners at the time when trophies are being handed out. I'm going to leave it there. Like, I don't like that. Just spit that out of my mouth, right? You know what I mean? Man United doing well. Take care, guys. Have a good day. Thanks for coming on. Hopefully I'll get this right, and we'll see you later. Technically, there's something wrong. I don't.
Just click end stream, judges. You should be all right.
Just end the stream.
Click end stream and then stream.
I'll tell you what, Sam, will you sort this out? Can you usually?